Mrs. Wally.
Hi, second graders. Welcome back to your TV classroom. Today is Tuesday, March 2nd, and I'm smiling and giggling because here in the TV classroom, when we're not filming, we put our masks on because I'm in the same room with Miss Osmond. We're really far apart when we're filming, but our desks kind of close together, so we wear our mask. And I was sitting up here dancing to the music to our intro, and I realized I still have my face mask on. So I was giggling because I took it off, and Mr. Kevin giggled, and we have fun here at the TV classroom. Let's check in with your zones before we get going with our learning today. How are you feeling? What zone are you in? Mr. Kevin, what zone are you in today?
Oh, I'm in the green zone today, Mrs. Wally.
Oh, good. Why are you
Yeah.
in the green zone?
Just, every day working, I know I say this a lot, but every day working with the two of you is just so fun.
Oh.
And so it puts me in the green zone to come into work. And how about you?
That made my heart feel really happy, Mr. Kevin. Thank you.
Oh, good.
You know, I was actually kind of in the yellowish red zone when I was coming to work today.
Oh.
I don't do well when things are unknown and I have some things I don't know is going to happen next. Nothing bad. That's hard for me. But now I came here and started working and was here with you and Miss Oslin, and I'm in the green zone. I really also enjoy working here with both of you. It's just a really great place to work. So
Good.
I went from not in the green zone to in the green zone today, and it's always nice when you can get yourself out of a zone that's not green. I can't always do it, but it felt really good to do it. Friends at home, make sure that you share how you're feeling today with someone around you, and make sure to ask someone how they're feeling today. Doing that shows them that you care, helps you practice empathy, and when you put others first and ask them how they're feeling, it makes you feel better inside too. Let's get going. It is True or False Tuesday, which means we get sound effects, and I'm so excited. Okay, let's take a look at the first one. Now remember, this looks like a lot because there's all these numbers and all these symbols and it feels confusing. So we have to stop and say, what do I know? And let's look at both sides. So we've got one expression that says 76 minus 12. We have another expression that says 50 plus 12. So what is 76 minus 12? 64. Make sure I have my pen on. It's 64. Because 70 minus 10 is 60, and 6 minus 2 is 4. Okay, what's 50 plus 12? 62. Go ahead and read this. Yes, it's true because 64 is greater than 62. It's true. Okay, you do the next one on your own. Is it true or false? It is true. 93 minus 62 is 31, and 84 minus 33 is 51. 31 is less than 51. Ta-da! Remember, we read this symbol. It helps if you just have to decide which way the symbol goes to have the bigger one be eaten by the alligator. A lot of people learn that. But it's important to know that this symbol just standing alone, you would just say less than. This symbol just standing alone is greater than. This symbol just standing alone is equal to or is the same as. So you have to read it from left to right, and you know it's greater than when it's this way because the two dots come first. And you know it's less than when you read this way because one dot comes first and one is less than two and two is greater than one. So that's how you remember.
I learned that from you, Mrs. Wally.
Oh,
It's a
I'm
great
so glad,
thing.
Mr.
Yeah.
Kevin. Okay, take a look at this one. Is it true or false? It's false. 96 plus 15 is 111. 101 plus 5 is 106. 111 is not less than 106. False. All right, we're going to skip the last two for time. Today we are learning to subtract 3-digit numbers. We've been practicing this with adding. Now we're going to subtract. I'm going to grab my base 10 blocks. Ta-da! If you have base 10 blocks where you are, grab them. If you don't, that's okay. You can do your drawings to help you. It says use base 10 blocks to show each number. Go ahead, build or draw these two numbers. You have 1 minute. I'm going to build, Mr. Kevin, don't show. Step in a minute, Mr. Kevin. Perfect. Okay, friends, take a look. This is, I'm going to move these so you can see the whole thing. There we go. 368, and this is 243. Check your drawing or your model and make sure it's accurate. I have 300s, 6 10s, 8 1s, and I have 200s, 4 10s, 3 1s. Great. Now keep those, you can reset your board, but if you use base 10 blocks, keep those handy because we're going to be using them today. Let's read this problem together. We're going to read it. We're going to talk about what's going on and make a little model. Then we're going to find the information we know and fill in our model, and then you're going to have some time to try to solve that problem. Are you ready? Here we go. Holly has 368 Pet Pal cards. I'm guessing they're like Pokemon cards, but for little pets would be my guess. Dara has 243 cards. How many more cards does Holly have than Dara? So what's happening here? What's going on in this problem? We have two people, and they have these trading cards. And what's happening in the problem? Oh, one has more and one has fewer. So what kind of model am I going to draw? Is it going to be a part whole model, or is it going to be a model where I'm comparing? Because one has more than the other, and I'm asking how many more. Yeah, it's going to be one of those comparison models. So on your whiteboard, I want you to draw a long rectangle on the top. Woo! Let's try that again. A long rectangle on the top, and then a shorter rectangle on the bottom that's lined up. These need to be lined up right here, okay? Okay, now, we don't know where anything's gonna go yet. So the first thing we need to do is figure out where the question mark's gonna go. So we have to read again and find our question. Holly has 368 Pet Pal cards. Dara has 243 cards. How many more cards does Holly have than Dara? So what's our question? What are we trying to figure out? Ooh, I hit the wrong button. What are we trying to figure out? Yeah, how many more cards does Holly have than Dara? Okay, so where is that gonna go? Where's the part where we're finding the how many more or how many fewer? Here's a hint, it's the same part. It's the part that's different. It's right here. It's the part that's not the same between the two amounts. It's a part that one of the amounts has and the other part doesn't have. So this is where we're going to put our question mark. This is the different part. This is the part that tells us how many more the top bar has and how many fewer the bottom bar has. Okay, now what do we need to do? Yeah, let's find the information we do know, put it into our model, so that then we can figure out an equation and solve. So let's read. I'm gonna get my highlighter, I'm gonna get my green, perfect. Holly has 368 Pet Pal cards and Dara has 243 cards. What information do we need? Okay, that Holly is 368 and Dara is 243. So where am I going to put those numbers in my model? Well, who's going to go on the top bar, the bar that's longer? Yeah, the person that has a greater amount or has more cards. Who is that? Holly. H for Holly, D for Dara. So I'm going to put 368 cards. And for Dara, I'm going to put 243 cards. Use this model and solve. You have 2 minutes. Go. Okay, friends. Are we at 2 minutes, Mr. Kevin? Oh, we'll keep going. I thought we were at 2 minutes. You have 30 more seconds, friends. Okay, friends. Mr. Kevin, can you show my whiteboard with the slide? So what I did here is I created a subtraction problem because I know the whole and I know a part and I'm trying to find the other part. So there's a few different ways you could do this. You could do a base 10 drawing. You could say 368 and then I'm going to take away 240. Whoops, I didn't do 8, I did 3. 3. And what do I have left? I have 100, 2 10s, and 5 1s. So my answer is 125. Great. Another thing you could do is you could say 300 plus 60 plus 8, and then subtract 200 plus 40 plus 3. And you can either start with the hundreds or the ones. I'm going to start with the ones. When you're subtracting, it's much better to start with the ones because if you start with the hundreds and then you have to regroup, it can get really confusing. So I would suggest, you can start with the hundreds, but it's much more difficult. I would suggest starting with the ones place value. 8 minus 3. If I have 8, can I take 3 away? Yes. That gives me 5. Remember, when we subtract, we always start with the whole number and then take away the number that's representing the part. We don't start with the part and take away the whole. That wouldn't make any sense. So we start with the number that is the whole. And when we're writing it in this way, the whole is on the top, the part is on the bottom. We can't switch them around. So I have 8 and I take away 3. Then I have 60 and I'm going to take away 40 and that's going to give me 20. Then I have 300 and I'm going to take away 200 and that's going to give me 100. And that gave me 125. Let's take a look at our PowerPoint slide and see some ways they said that we could do it. You might have done one of my ways, you might have done it differently. It says, sometimes you have to regroup to subtract 3-digit numbers. Did we have to regroup with our story problem? We didn't. We were able to just subtract. But sometimes you're going to have a place value that has like 110, and then you have to take away 8 tens. And if I only have 110, I am not able to take away 8 tens without getting a negative number. And in 2nd grade, we don't even know what negative numbers are yet. That's going to come down later when you're in 4th and 5th grade. So we can't do that. So we do this thing called regroup, or you might hear someone say ungroup, because you're going to take 100 and break it back apart into 10 tens, and then you have enough to subtract. So let's take a look at what they have on here. It says write greater than. No, it doesn't. It says write less than, greater than, or equal to compare hundreds, tens, and ones. So I'm going to get my pen, and we're going to look at the hundreds place, the 300 and the 200. The digit 3 and the digit 2. Is the digit 3 greater than 2 or less than 2? It's greater than 2. Don't need to regroup that place value. So this place value right here is okay. This one, the 3 is greater than the 2, so we're good. Now let's look at the tens place. Is 6 greater than 4 or less than 4? It's greater than 4, so we're good there. What about the ones place? Is 8 greater than 9 or less than 9? Ooh, less than 9. So we're going to have to take a 10 from the tens place and put it back into the ones place so we have enough. It says complete the sentence. There are not enough what in 368 to subtract 249? What place value do we not have enough of? Yeah, the ones place. Take a look. Because the ones place was less. How could we write 368 a different way to show more ones? So instead of 300s, 6 tens, and 8 ones, it would be 300s, 5 tens, and 18 ones. Mr. Kevin, can you show my whiteboard? Take a look, friends. What happened was we had 6 and 8, right? See 6 and 8. And I needed to take away 9. I couldn't do that. So what you do is you say, okay, well, I have some 10s here, and I know that 110 is the same as 10 ones, so I'm just going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to say, well, these are equivalent. They're equal. They're the same. If I was to weigh them, the balance would be equal. So I'm just going to put that 10 stick there. I'm going to put the ones over here. Now I have 5 10s and 18 ones, and now I can take 9 away. There's enough little cubes to take 9. So when do we need to regroup when we subtract? Yes, when the place value that I'm subtracting, the starting number is less than the number I'm taking away. When the whole is less than the part. In the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000, doesn't matter. If your whole in that place value has a value less than the part, you need to regroup and borrow from the other side. That's why you might hear someone say, borrowing from the tens, borrowing from the hundreds. What we're doing is we're just taking one set of that and breaking it apart into the lower place value. Today, your assignment is to do page 417 and 418. We just started this. We're gonna have so much practice with this. This is just the very beginning. So if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know, Mrs. Wally, that's okay. We'll get you there by the end. Today, we learned to subtract 3-digit numbers. We identified the value of each digit. We used the values to subtract using a strategy that we knew, and we found a solution. Mr. Kevin, if they have a question for me, how can they contact me here at the TV classroom?
You know, Mrs. Wally would love to answer your questions
I would
on
love
math.
it.
So you can send them to TV Classroom at tacoma.k12.wa.us. Ask your adult for help if you need it. TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kevin. Friends, thank you so much for learning with me today. Up next is going to be your break and then your time with Miss Oslin. Make sure during your break you gather all of your ELA materials, your ELA packet, your learning notebook, your pencil, your learning buddy. And when she comes back on the screen, be ready to learn. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Good day, young aviators. Did you know that we live in an amazing state? Not only is Washington famous for its spectacular scenery, but did you know that Washington State is famous for making airplanes? So today, we will be using our arms' muscular strength to fly around Washington State and see how beautiful it is. All you have to do is put your arms out when the bald eagle takes off from her totem pole and keep them flapping until she makes it back to her totem pole safely. Now, your arms might get a little tired, but that's okay. That's how we build our muscular endurance. Don't stop flapping until you land. Have a great flight.
Hi, second graders. Welcome back from your break. Excellent job being such an independent learner and gathering your materials during your break. You can take your ELA packet, your pencil, your reading notebook, and put those off to the side. You won't need those quite yet, but you can go ahead and hold on to your learning buddy if they are going to help you focus. Okay, today we're going to begin, we won't read the whole thing, but we're going to begin a new folktale called The Ugly Duckling. Now, before we get started, I want you to think, have you ever heard or seen the ugly duckling before? Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you're thinking about the ugly duckling. Okay, Gus, now I know quite a bit about the ugly duckling, but I don't want my second graders at home who have never read it to hear. So I'm not going to say anything. Now, we've been learning how traditional folk tales have common story elements. We know that they have a character or characters, they have a setting, and they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. In the beginning of the story, this is where we meet the characters, we learn the setting, and we're usually introduced to the problem. The middle of the story is, that's usually the scariest part, the saddest part, the funniest part. And then at the end is where our characters solve or resolve their problem. And because we know that this is how traditional tales are structured, we can use that to help us make predictions about what's going to happen next or how our story might end. We're also going to pay really close attention today to the literary and cultural language in The Ugly Duckling to help us really picture the story in our minds. We're going to learn how to appreciate how writers use descriptive language to bring a story to life. Now, what that means is when a story is brought to life, you can picture it in your mind like a movie. You can almost hear the characters talking, or you can see the setting, or you can feel what they are feeling. The Ugly Duckling. Pay attention to all of those story elements today. And like I said, we're not going to read the whole thing. We're going to pay close attention to that descriptive language and then stop in the middle of the story, which is going to be hard because we're going to want to know how it ends. But your independent work today is going to be to draw and write about your prediction about how you think this story is going to end. It was summer, and the pond was alive with the music and color of life. Okay, right there, we're getting our setting. We know that this story takes place during which season? In the summer, and we know where. Our characters are at a pond. And the sentence continues to say, the pond was alive with the music and color of life. I can picture the pond in my mind, and I can hear the birds and the bugs and the breeze. That's really bringing the story to life, such descriptive language. Dragonflies danced to and fro, and frogs splashed in and out at the water's edge. Below the surface, fish swam together in harmony, while birds swooped through the air above, and all around a gentle breeze rustled the tall grasses that grew nearby. There, secluded among the grasses, a duck was sitting on 6 eggs. 5 of the eggs were small, but the 6th was oddly shaped and much larger than the others. The duck was puzzled about that egg and how it came to be so different from the rest, but she did not worry herself about it much. She just took care that the big egg was as warm as the rest. This was the first set of eggs that the duck had ever laid, and she was very pleased and proud. One day, when she saw tiny cracks on two of them, she drew the eggs closer to one another and didn't move for the rest of that day. She sat steadily on the nest for a whole night. Before the sun rose, the 5 little eggs were empty and 5 pairs of eyes were gazing out upon the green world. "I suppose you are all here now," said the mother as she stood up. "No, I have not got you all yet. The biggest egg is still there. How long is it going to take?" She settled herself on the nest again. The day wore on, and the big egg showed no signs of cracking. But all through that day and the next, she sat, giving up even her morning bath for fear that a blast of cold might strike the big egg. In the evening, she thought she saw a tiny crack in the shell, and she was so excited that she could hardly sleep all night. With the first streaks of light, she felt something stirring under her. Soon, a big, awkward bird tumbled out of the egg head first. "Cheep, cheep," cried the young one. The mother looked with surprise at his long neck and dull color. That is a monstrous big duckling," she said to herself. "None of the others looked like that. Can he be a turkey chick? Well, we shall soon find out," she thought. And he and the 5 furry little balls followed her to the water. "Did you ever see anything quite as ugly as that great creature?" One of the ducks in the yard taunted as the family walked by. "He is a disgrace to any brood," another agreed. "I shall go and chase him out." And he ran to the big duckling and bit his neck. "Leave him alone," the duckling's mother said fiercely. "He is doing no harm." "No, but he is so ugly that no one can put up with him," answered the stranger, and the poor duckling drooped his head. "He may not be quite as handsome as the others," his mother answered, comforting him, "but he is tall and very strong. I am sure he will make his way in the world as well as anybody." Now, from the very beginning, our author, Jerry Pinkney, describes this story, describes the colors, and using these language that calls to our senses. It tells us what we would see, what we would hear, what we would feel. And he says, the pond was alive with the music and color of life. And he goes on to describe how the animals are dancing and calling. And I can, like I said, I can still imagine the buzzing and the chirping that I would hear. And then there's the mother duck sitting on her eggs, right? And she's so excited. I can almost feel as excited as she is. But then nothing's happening. How must that have felt? And then I can feel the gentle breeze. And oh, I've held baby chicks before, and I know that they're very soft. So I can almost feel the down feathers of the baby chicks after they hatch. Now, I wonder, do you think the mother duck will be correct about her ugly duckling making his way in the world? Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you were thinking. Gus, that mama duck seems pretty strong that she can protect him until he's grown. Also, I'm thinking about folk tales, and I know that a common element of folk tales is that they have a happy ending. So I can predict that the ugly duckling will be just fine. Now, let's keep reading. Notice how descriptive this language is and picture it playing in your mind. Actually, let's pause now, and we're going to picture what has happened so far. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes to do this or keep them open. Just play it in your mind like a movie. Now we're able to do that, to visualize, to play it in our mind like a movie, because our author has included such descriptive language. Now let's keep reading to see what happens next. But as time went by, matters grew worse. The poor duckling was chased by all of them, even his brothers and sisters. The ducks bit him, the hens pecked him, and the girl who fed them kicked him aside. At last he could bear it no longer. And one night, when the ducks and hens were still asleep, he stole away. That means he ran away. He stole away. By dawn, he had reached a grassy moor full of soft, marshy places. It was peaceful there, and the duckling wished that he might stay forever, away from everyone, until bang, bang. At the sound of the gun, whole flocks of wild geese flew up from the rushes. Sportsmen lay hidden around the marsh, and some even sat on the branches of trees that overhung the water. For a few long minutes, the firing continues. Oh, wow. In this scene, our author describes the sound. What was the sound? The bang, bang of the hunter's guns. I can hear the guns and the wings. Look at that picture. You can see all of the geese flapping their wings. I can almost feel the wind from their wings flapping, and I can hear the sound of their wings flapping. Now, we're going to stop there, which I know is hard. But what I want you to do is think about how our author used such descriptive language that we can really picture exactly what's happening in this story. And we can think about our language elements, the story elements, the literary language, the cultural language. We can think about the characters, think about that we know that folktales often have a happy ending. And we're going to think about what we think is going to happen towards the end of this book. Now, we know that folktales also have a chronological structure, right? They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, in your ELA packet, you're going to find this graphic organizer called The Movie in My Mind. And we've seen this graphic before. This is what movies used to be printed on, is a tape that's plastic, and it had holes in the side so that it could run through a projector like this. So we're going to use this to draw scenes, which is one part of each of the beginning, the middle, and then we're going to predict what happens at the end. So I want you to take some think time. Think about our story elements: character, setting, beginning, middle, end. And think about what we can include in the beginning and the middle. We haven't read the end, so you're going to predict or guess based on what you know, what you think is going to happen. Take some think time. Now, I remember in the beginning, the mama duck was sitting on her, it looks more like a chicken, but I'll just write duck so we know, on her nest. And then the eggs all began to crack. And the biggest egg looked different. And here in the middle, everyone was treating the ugly duckling so poorly that he decided to run away. And I'm actually going to look back at the book to get me a good visual. It's on the water. with all the geese, their wings. They're flying away. Then, your job is to think about, play this in your mind like a movie, and make a prediction about what you think is going to happen in the end. And that's your independent work today. You can send it to us here at the TV Classroom so that we can see what you're thinking about how you think The Ugly Duckling is going to end. Mr. Kevin, how can they send us their work?
Well, you can send your work to tvclassroom@tacoma.k12.wa.us. We'd love to see your drawings about what's happening in the story, The Ugly Duckling. You can also mail them to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405, right next to the little mama duck's nest. So be careful.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Second graders, your other independent work today is to continue to read folk tales. And again, if you don't have access to folk tales, ask your teacher. You can reach out to your local Tacoma Public Library's librarian and they can help gather you materials. Or, like I mentioned yesterday, you can go back and watch some of our special guest Wednesdays here at TV Classroom. We've had special guests who have come and told folk tales orally. We had our Peace Queen tell a folk tale, we had Quabi and Simon tell a folk tale, and we had Anthony Bluehorse tell a folk tale. So you can listen to those. And as you do that, or do your independent reading, pay really close attention to the descriptive language that your author is using, and stop and think about what you think is going to happen. And you're going to write about your independent reading texts in your reading notebook as well. Now it's time for our affirmation. This is the time of day when we get to build ourselves up and say positive things before we go off to complete our independent work. Today, your affirmation is, I am a strong reader. Say that out loud with me. I am a strong reader. Excellent job today, second graders. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you back here next time in our TV Classroom. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.